Beth Sears, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
Me too. It feels like there's been a long time coming. Like, how have you not been on the show yet? But today's the day. Today is that day. Where are you talking to me from, Beth? Where are you located?
Winchester, Virginia.
A place with your doggy. The dog's
With
like,
my doggy.
I'm in the house. Yeah.
My great
If I
big
did-
Dane.
Right, with your Great Dane. And if I didn't have my these headphones in, and my dog Winnie, who's in my office right now, heard your dog bark, she'd be barking too. She's like, wait, what? So it's fun when we do our work from home, which I know a lot of our listeners do. We can have our pets with us.
Well, that used to drive me crazy. And I would go around the house trying to find the perfect place. And now I'm much more relaxed about it. He's stop more easily.
It is what it is. I tell people, I'm like, don't stress out. Like, it's just normal. If your kid flows in, I mean, that happens with me. This is life, and this is what we're really talking about and showing to women, and that we can work where we want, when we want, with whom we want. We can design a schedule in a way that feels really good to us. We can work with most incredible clients who understand that we have a life, outside the work. Right? And we get to do it our way. But that was not something that you knew growing up, Beth. Y'all, for those of you who don't know, Beth has been a client of mine for several years now. First came through our coaching school, got certified as a coach through our school. And then, I mean, she has so many other things that she's done in her life as well. And then has come into my mastermind. We've hung out in Mexico together. We're about to go to Costa Rica together. She's come to the Berkshires here in Western Massachusetts a few times. Like, we've had a good time, and we're, continuing to go on this wild adventure. But I know about you, Beth, that you didn't set out doing all the work that you're doing now, which we'll get into. I'd love for you to share with our listeners kind of the message you received growing up about what kind of work a woman like you, like, it would be okay. It would be okay for you to pursue just a few types of careers. What were those careers?
Professionally, lawyer, doctor, banker, maybe professor, but that was with a doctorate, a PhD. I pretty much needed to have a title around my name or be handling large sums of money. And then there was that duality of I also was supposed to be the perfect wife and cooking the fancy meals and keeping the house immaculate, pretty much alone. Having children, that was always something that was expected. Thank goodness I wanted them badly myself because we have to. So I don't mind that. But, but the expectations were actually just quite overwhelming. I mean, how does a little girl at 5 know what she wants to do? Even now with all these opportunities.
Right. And so this was passed on. It was your father saying this, your mom, both of them. Who was that message from?
Both. My father my mother actually had some pretty strong opinions about what my father should do. He was a parole officer when they got married, and he became a lawyer because that's what my mother was crafting for him. So there was that expectation from both of them. Just still boggles my mind.
Right. And you followed that advice when you go into college. You majored in what?
I was pre-med. By the time I graduated from college, however, I had decided that med school was definitely not for me. And my grandfather was a pediatrician, and I would have loved to have pursued that. But at the time, I decided not to. I worked at Bowman Gray School of Medicine in infectious diseases, doing research for 4 years. Met my husband while I was there, and ended up going to law school. It was a way.
Right. Interesting. Right. So you're like, all right, I will play in the medical field for a bit. All right. And you met your husband there, who is a doctor. And then what made you say, you know what, I'm going to do the lawyer thing? Like, what was that about?
Well, it's kind of funny, but I couldn't do the doctor thing because grades, haven't taken the L, what is it? Yeah. The
MCAT.
MCAT. Thank you. I never even took it. Better just be a lawyer. So took the LSAT, and at the time, Rich and I weren't engaged. I actually didn't think we were going to get engaged. So he was doing his thing, go to the match, and he ended up matching at Alabama, at UAB. I thought I was going to I needed something else to do. So I applied to law schools. In the process, we became engaged. So my choice of law school was in Alabama at a university, and did the thing. 3 years
Did
law
the thing.
school, and I do
3 years of law school,
yeah.
and then what'd you do from there?
Went to work for my dad.
Okay, you went to work for your dad because he was a lawyer. So did he have his own firm?
Had his own firm. Yep. That was expected.
Okay, I was like, listen, I changed my career. You know, I became a lawyer, parole officer to lawyer. I started this firm, worked hard to build it, come and work here. And how did that go?
He actually had not started this firm and worked to build it. He had floated from firm to firm and not achieved the kind of continuous success you might have expected. And the reasons are probably complicated, and really none of my business. That's his journey. He is a complicated person and did a lot of harm to a lot of people. And thank goodness, at some point in that, I realized it was not. I hadn't figured him out yet. I still haven't. But about a year into practicing, I got pregnant with our daughter, Christine. And by the time we moved here to Winchester in the Shenandoah Valley, I knew that I was done. I refused to keep my license current, which infuriated my father. But why was I going to, with an infant and struggling at the time? I mean, we didn't have a lot of money and a lot of bills. I went to law school. It's a private law school. I paid for every penny and still had a college debt, which I paid for. So I became Martha Stewart in a big house out in the country with 18 acres. Baked bread and made pretzels and cooked elaborate meals, and ended up having another baby. 2 years later, we bought this house, and I became a spin instructor. Years later, how many years was that? Abby was she was still in the nursery, so I don't know, 4 or 5. That was more just for kicks, and be down there at the club with the kids when they were swimming and that kind of stuff. And that blossomed into fitness and nutrition and coaching and all these wonderful things and wonderful connections and a whole life change.
A whole life change. Yeah. I love how you said you were Martha Stewart, you know, in that first home, like, okay, because again, the messaging you got was you got to be an incredible wife, fantastic mother, keep an impeccable house, make these meals, everything needs to be in tip-top shape. So you did that for a bit. Babies came along, but you do have this desire to move your body. And so you became a spin instructor. Did you know that you liked teaching, or you just thought it would be fun? Like what, because I always hear when people like are group fitness instructors, like, how did you know? Like, I mean, I did the yoga teacher training thing as you did too, which we can talk about, but especially earlier on, like before the yoga became bigger, like how did you know you wanted to teach like aerobics or spin, like, you know? And so you knew like, okay, there's this thing called spinning, and like I think I'll learn how to teach that. Like, what was your thought process there?
Oh, I don't. Maybe it's that I want to tell people what to do thing, but I had a bad experience when I was in law school at a group fitness class. 2 friends and I, we were studying for exams of all things, and we decided to take an aerobics class. And then they had us doing suicides, where you run, you know, partially, and then you went further. We were not in great shape. We were in our mid-20s, but we were studying a lot. And she called us out. First time we'd been in her class, she didn't even know our names. So there was no connection. She didn't come beforehand and say, hey, I might, call to give you some encouragement. Is that okay with you? Which would be what she had. So I never went to another fitness class. I had some shoulder surgery. And at that point, Pilates was brand spanking new. Right down at the club at the foot of our hill, there was a brand new Pilates studio. I tried it out. And on the reformer, I booked privates, not a class. And
Mhm.
there was a class right in front of me. So here I'm doing the splits on the reformer and whatever they
Mhm.
were called. And there's this class. And over time, I kind of got used to this class idea. And then spinning came to the club. And within 2 or 3 months, Mike was offering classes at
Mhm.
our gym. So here I was with friends getting certified. And then it evolved into a very easy place to teach because they
Mhm.
hired the trainers that they taught, or that they,
Mhm.
we paid for it, but
Right. You went through the training program. Uh-huh.
yeah. And that was my first yoga certification, was with Yoga Fit.
Oh, okay, cool. So it was just like you found all these different types of exercises that you're into. They were ready to teach you. Then they needed to hire people to go teach the classes. So it was just this really simple, easy, like you're right here. You kind of maybe want something to do in addition to keeping the house and doing the mom thing and doing the wife thing. And so that just opened you up to like what did that experience open you up to in terms of like how your work can be fulfilling in that way?
On the surface, it looked really fulfilling.
Mm.
And most of my friends were doing the same sort of dance. A lot
Okay.
of them were professional women who'd given up careers or taken a break.
Mhm.
So lots of getting together, lots of wine by the pool, lots of potluck suppers that everybody's trying to make the best meals that or best food they can. It was lots of fun. So please do not get me wrong.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, we had a really good time.
Mhm.
But Martha Stewart is a lovely person, I'm sure. But
Mhm.
that was sustainable. That just wasn't sustainable. So
Mhm.
for me, it really all came crashing down later when I was trying to fulfill too many roles. My
Mm.
mother-in-law had Alzheimer's.
Mhm.
My um, my husband is a twin. He's a twin brother who's wonderful. He's
Mhm.
married to a woman who's a doctor. So of the
Mhm.
four of us, I'm the only person who's not practicing law or medicine. And
Mhm.
so I was the one that was sort of elected to take care of Grace, my mother-in-law. So we moved
Mhm.
her into our house, and it was the best experience of my life. So that
Mhm.
was when, however, I stopped teaching all these classes. For a few minutes, I thought I was going to get her and use it, and she'd be able to teach senior stretch with her because I was teaching. I'd just been certified in senior classes, but
Mhm.
the Alzheimer's had progressed too much. So she
Mm.
needed constant care. We brought in some help, and um, I had things very controlled. Christmas
Mm.
was a big show that year because it was her last in our house.
Mhm.
And again, best year probably of my life, and also the hardest because I learned so much.
Mhm.
Patience, so many skills, so much humility of seeing things as they are. Not
Mhm.
You can't fix that.
Right.
So um, and being able to take care of myself during that period, lessons in that. So all those years of fitness and how to eat through those difficult years with having her in the house and the children. And
Mhm.
at that point, my girls were in middle school,
Mhm.
which of course is tough. Um,
Mhm.
Healthy eating. We needed to sustain ourselves. So I'm
Mhm.
kind of talking in circles here because it was so hard, and I
Mhm.
still felt like a hypocrite because inside I was not fulfilled.
Mhm.
I wasn't fulfilled because I thought I was supposed to be doing more. I still thought it was
Ah.
supposed to be perfect. I thought my
Mhm.
husband was supposed to be more engaged, but
Mhm.
he was doing the best he could.
Mhm.
I was
Mhm.
trying to do everybody's journey for them.
Ah, okay, okay. So was it when your mother-in-law came to live with you that that all just became clear because you
Mhm.
had to, really clear the decks? Like you just couldn't take on anything extra. It had to be like
Yep,
these are the priorities, and everything else has to come to a pause, come to a stop.
that was the pivotal moment. And then again, when she left our house after almost a year and was in an assisted living facility. And of course,
Mhm.
as she progressed, she ended up in an Alzheimer's facility. And there's a whole
Mhm.
long story around that, which I of course won't go into. But when she ended up in the final facility she was in, my mother died, and it was very
Mhm.
ugly. My parents had been estranged from me for quite some time.
Mhm.
The day we moved her into this facility,
Mhm.
she was so sweet. and
Mm-hmm.
kind. And I was the one taking care of all the paperwork while my husband was,
Mm-hmm.
the dog is barking, while my husband,
Charlie.
oh, it's not bad. He's like, couldn't give it up. Would be when they come to deliver oil, right? Charlie. Sorry, people.
Real life. Outtakes.
Yeah, delivering oil for the first time.
It's all good. See you all. This is real life.
This is real life. You get a little tour of the house.
Yeah, like, hi, we're going through Beth's house right now. It's like a
Yeah.
tour. Just doing a little tour. Oh, and a pretty painting.
That's my favorite painting. Okay, so we're moving Grace in, and I'm taking care of all the paperwork, and she answers questions. And the woman said, so the woman sitting beside you, who is she? I don't know, but she's going to marry one of my brothers. And the woman said, do you like her? Oh, yes, she's going to be a wonderful Walter bride. And with all the stuff that was going on in my life, I melted. It was true, unconditional love. All those years of me being there, of lying on the floor beside her when she was sick or afraid, because with Alzheimer's, there's so much paranoia. And I was the one there, because I needed to be. So there were so many lessons with that. And of course, they didn't all stick all the time, but most of the time they did. And
yeah, and probably so interesting, like you mentioned too, with your mom. And you and I have history, so I know a lot about your life. But yeah, that your mom, it's like what you got from your mother-in-law, this unconditional love. It's like that was so healing for you, because that wasn't your experience with your mother, who brought you into the world, who birthed
not at
you.
all.
Yeah.
It was like my whole. It wasn't like the earth opened up and swallowed me. It was like she came up and hugged me. It was like a big. It was like Mother Earth hugging me.
Yes.
And gotcha. Just remember this moment forever. And
yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Beth. And I want our listeners to take that in, that we might not receive love from the source that we think we should. Right? Well, we're supposed to get it from our mom, our dad, our partner, our children, but it will come in mysterious ways. So be open to that. Like I still believe that life isn't finished amazing you. It's not finished with you yet. And so if we can continue being patient and showing up, and us being the change we want to see in the world, and us, really loving the people in our world, then the thing that we think we didn't get from someone else, like, it's going to come in a different form. And that doesn't mean that we don't need to, take care of how we might still be hurt over something, or heal the wounds, but to trust that it's going to come. And it did for you in that experience. Beth, thank you for sharing that. All right. So Beth, you have this space open up from the passing of your mom and your mother-in-law, different relationships with both of those women. I'm guessing there was grief you needed to work through, that you wanted to make space for. And that's like a conversation that could go on for weeks and months. And so for anyone who's in grief right now, we send you a lot of love. We get it. But when you came to this place of, well, you have this time that opened up now, how did you decide to make the next move? Like, what did you want to fill that space with?
At first it was incredibly overwhelming. So the relationship with my mom was extremely complicated, I believe, and sad. But I worked through so much with her already, because of course grief is not just when she dies.
Right.
With my mother's death, I was actually happy because she was out of pain. And Grace as well, because she had Alzheimer's and had been suffering so much. So I was was lucky in that both of these women had some relief.
Yeah.
And grief is something that is part of our lives in such a big way, and we don't honor it. We don't, as a society, and we don't know what to say to other people.
Right. I know.
With both deaths, it did make me aware of my own reactions to other people when they're going through similar situations, and how bittersweet those relationships are too, because you are often glad they're out of pain, but there's a void, as you just said, a loss, a space.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when my mother died, I just happened to be starting my 200-hour yoga training. The next, mom died on Thursday, that started on Saturday. So I was able to pretty easily find a new connection with my body and with all the philosophies that are so nurturing there. And those people, and of course, a community is involved with that. So that helped tremendously.
Oh my gosh, you're so lucky. What a soft place to land.
Exactly.
Having been through a yoga teacher training myself, my 200 hours, like, oh, I can still see the room, you know, where we gathered into their faces. And I was blown away, like, oh, these types of conversations exist. What? It was so eye-opening to me, that world that I think I had spent so much time seeking, not knowing for sure that it was out there, but hoping in my heart that it would, and then it was there. And so, yeah, to be there for you after the death of your mom, what a gift.
And the timing was perfect. Of course it was. I mean, that's, of course it was. And I was seeking at the time.
Yeah.
So when you ask for the teacher, he or she appears.
Right.
And that was so much my experience, and always has been. When we consciously are seeking an experience. And so the getting up at the crack of dawn to get to yoga every other weekend for however many months, the making all these new connections that are still 5 or 6 years later, powerful.
Yeah. What did, like, when you started exploring that, because I know a lot of our listeners are into yoga, maybe they've been thinking about going through a yoga teacher training. I highly suggest people do if they're considering it, because I mean, for me, I look back, I was like, when I was in my corporate New York City life, and I just knew, I was like, something's up. Like, I don't know what, but gosh, that journey was so transformational. What did you really learn about yourself in that, like with your yoga studies? And I know you don't have to just think about that particular one, because you've gone on and achieved, you know, more, you know, certifications as a yoga teacher, Reiki, Ayurveda. Like you've really embraced this philosophy, because it is a philosophy, y'all. It's not just moving your body in, you know, poses. It's not about just the asana. The asana is like a detail. It's an important detail, but it's not that's not the reason why we practice yoga. What has that whole experience been for you, learning these tools and practicing them?
This might be a long podcast. I'm in the middle. I am towards the end of a 300-hour therapeutic yoga Ayurveda training. I just got back last night, thus the flat hair and lack of makeup. But ego, I've learned a lot about ego, and how ego is still, of course, because ego is always going to be there. How I don't have to recreate the wheel. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, that theme keeps popping up, right? I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be perfect. Not just because my friend Yasmin is the teacher of the class. Just because Yasmin did the theme this way doesn't mean I either have to do the theme that way she did it, nor do I have to do it better than she did it or make up something brand new. For so many years, even with yoga, that's how I did it. And when she was talking, because somebody had some issues this weekend with really suffering because she thought what she'd done wasn't good enough. And yeah, it was kind of needed some work, but hers was definitely not the worst. And she got really wrapped up in ego.
Mm-hmm.
And Yasmin was pointing out, and so we had quite the experience around that. It became cathartic and talking about setting aside the fear body, and so that's a constant lesson to learn, though, right? I mean, in life,
Mm-hmm.
why are
I
you
like that.
here? Are you here to
Mm-hmm.
serve, or are you here
Mm-hmm.
because you want to look good?
Oh, girl, say that again for the people in the back.
Yeah, are you here to serve, or are you trying to look good? Are you trying to impress somebody? And so much of my life was trying to impress somebody. And maybe that's why I'm here in my yoga pants and my sweater, and again, no hair done.
I love it.
Because
Mm-hmm.
to be real, I was just actually scrolling through some Instagram stuff earlier today, and
Mm-hmm.
I lost her name. We're watching Game of Thrones right now. The queen,
I don't watch, but an awesome character. Okay.
the Cersei character, and her
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, every single picture is
Mm-hmm.
she's not in makeup. She's just really real. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized I am so used to these polished Instagrams. So I kind of at first had to go, huh, should I stop here? And then I went, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
She's being
Mm-hmm.
real. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you showed up real, especially, post. I mean, I will be real with you. Can I be real with y'all? Right before this, I had been in my pajamas and robe until 12:30 today. And I hopped in that shower. I said, all right, I'll put like a curling iron through my hair a little bit if I'm going to come onto video. Like, not always, but sometimes there's times I'm like, I need that because I was up really late last night working on this project. And I gave myself permission to talk about being real. Gave myself permission. I'm just going to stay in my robe and my pajamas
Yep.
and all morning. And I'm with my sons, homeschooling. We do a lot of homeschooling. We're recording this on Tuesday mornings. And I'm like, oh no, are they going to think I'm not serious or working on these things? I'm like, whatevs. Like I want them to see that mom is real and that you can be with mom. You can learn if you're in your pajamas. You can learn if listen, we don't hang out in our pajamas all day, every day around here, but there's days where me getting dressed right away actually would have been suffering. Like I needed that time
Yep.
to just chill. So I like to go to bed earlier than I did last night, but it was one of those nights where I was just on that roll. I'm following this idea. I'm playing with it. And that's the opening that I had. And so I hopped into it. But to your point, Beth, especially when you come out of a yoga thing, you're like, you just want to be on that show. Like, what are we hiding? Like, what are we trying to hide? What is not okay to be presentable now? And I love what you said. Are you here to serve? Are you trying to impress somebody? Are you trying to look good? And we spend so much time looking at that. And it's a challenge, with social media and the influencers and the appearances. But when you can really strip that back, and I think the more that you continue to do these deep dives with your trainings, and I want to give a shout out to you, Beth, because you love to learn and you love taking in kind of new frameworks, new wisdom, new data, new connections. Like you adventure, you travel, like you'll go, like you're going, you uncover these treasures to then, integrate and kind of look at for yourself, and then you share them with your people. And I really, really appreciate that about you. And I want
Thank
our listeners to take in, you are welcome. I want our listeners to take in that you do not have to be perfect as you do this work. In fact, it's impossible. Even if you get there, it's not sustainable and you'll break and it's just a facade. And to set aside the fear and allow yourself to be real with someone else, to be real, and to know, like, those of us who are called for this type of work. I was thinking about this recently, Beth, especially with this project, which is really kind of an evolution of a current project, but just taking it to that next level. The reason why I started this whole thing is because I just really enjoy working with a specific type of leader, a specific type of woman, and like a woman like you who is just hungry for knowledge. She has so much wisdom. She has so many, like your craft is so strong, and you're here to get it out there in a bigger way. You're here to really develop that community and to serve that community. And so it does come back to service.
It does, and connection. It's
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's spiritual. That's where we are. And
Mm-hmm.
that with both Grace and my mother dying, they died within a few months of each other. Grace died January 1st. My mom died on September 11th. And
Wow. Those are very significant days, both of them.
and Grace hung on. My older daughter's birthday is New Year's Eve, and she'd been without food and water for longer than 3 or 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And so all New Year's Eve, my husband was with her, and he kept saying she's about to go. You know, it was very sweet, and she didn't. She waited for New Year's Day.
Wow,
Just amazing.
New Year. It is amazing, the journey of the soul, and when the soul is ready to exit. You know, to exit the body. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Well, just to be able to hold on so she didn't die on my daughter's birthday. You know, just
yeah, absolutely.
I know that happened, and the travel is amazing. I think women, I run into that a lot too. I wonder if, I bet you do too. A lot of women who say you travel alone a lot. They're usually excited by that prospect, but they need a purpose, or they need a or just, I would never do that. I'd have to leave my children.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Leaving the children or being alone. Absolutely. You know, I went hiking in the desert in Arizona a few weeks ago, and people were like, "You went by yourself?" I'm like, "Yeah." They go, "You shouldn't be doing that." I'm like, "No, it wasn't like the only person on the whole mountain. I just was the only one. I was just with me." You know, like my group had all left, and I love doing solo adventures. I mean, so much of the hero's journey, the heroine's journey, which we are all on right now. Newsflash, okay? We're all on it. You have to be willing to go alone. If Beth waited to go on the trip until she could talk a friend into it, maybe your husband might come, maybe a dog, like you wouldn't have done a fraction of the things that you've done. So if you want something bad enough, you've got to be willing to go alone. And we're never alone. We're never really alone. Like we may be physically, like someone's not right next to us or something, but the spiritual practice, that quest, that impulse, that inner guidance, it's always there. It's there with you.
Always make friends. Every single time. Every single time.
I have like the best time.
I do. I mean, you meet people. Well, I think you meet people also because your intentions are pure.
Right. And your energy is strong. You're vibing. Like my last trip, I made friends on the plane, you know, and it's because we show up in this way where we're emitting light. We have this really kind heart, and we know a lot of things. And so we're good conversationalists too. I know that about you, Beth, and I know that about me. And I would gather that a lot of our listeners are in that boat too, where we can just, you know, like, I don't really care who you are. I could find, you know, a way in and be able to have a pretty interesting conversation. And I get a lot out of that. I don't do idle chit chat well. Like I like to get down there deep.
I've had some of the most interesting conversations. I had one yesterday with Uber drivers.
Yeah, totally.
I think I told you I thought about a book of all my conversations with Uber drivers.
Girl, I like it. I like it. So tell everyone, Beth, now you've had like just this wild, awesome journey of just getting to where you are, like figuring out who you are, letting certain things go. You and I both, you know, connect over the fact that we're both sober. I always find it fascinating that a number of my clients, and we're public about these things, but that we realize that, you know, alcohol just doesn't have a place in our lives. For some of my clients, it does, but for some of us, it does not. And so for any of my listeners right now who are in that boat, just know that Beth and I understand that very well. And, you know, we're happy to have conversation. I think for you too, Beth, like, I mean, how do you feel when someone reaches out to you and wants insight on that, or is like needing a supportive word?
Oh, it's so important. That's what we're here for, right? I mean, that's giving up alcohol was both the easiest and hardest thing to do. It's so pervasive in our society and life, as I alluded to earlier. It was moms and wine. There's a movement of fitness and wine,
yoga and wine. I'm like, what?
These things do not match. I know that we'd like them to, but they don't. And I don't do moderation. I just don't. And So I'm blessed when somebody wants to talk to me about that.
Yeah.
I've done
Yeah.
Y12 SR training, which is yoga, 12-step training, which I've not taken and set up classes for that for some reason.
But you have the framework, and you have that expertise there, and it's such a wonderful thing. I had a friend recently who was sharing like her celebration. It's been 3 months since she'd had a drink, and I'm like, congratulations so much. She goes, I just don't have a lot of people I can talk to about this. I said, well, you can always come to me and share that. And, whatever it is that someone's going through, just to have that person to talk to who gets it, who may be on the road a bit longer than you, but says, it's good here, like
Yep.
you can do this, keep showing up for this. I'm so, happy that you and I can connect around this, Beth. It always, it's such a gratifying experience to be able to, look at another woman and be like, yeah, I get it. And you get me.
Every moment. And of course it is one day at a time, but really it's the small things. It's the moment to moment. In general society, it's always moment to moment. The only thing we have is now. The only thing we have is now. And if we're going to live our lives with intention, which is also the only way we get anything that we want, we're going to have to make every moment intentional. So then you're going to rack up a lot of moments that are actually really good moments.
Yeah.
And you're going to look back and go, oh, wow, I did that.
Yeah.
So celebrating those moments. And so having somebody with you along the way to celebrate those moments that gets it is tremendously important. And it's also really exciting and fun.
Yeah, it is. It can be super fun. I think for many people, like, oh, my life's not going to be fun anymore. I don't think like,
oh, it's so much more fun.
It gets more fun.
Yeah.
I know it sounds crazy. I know you don't believe me, but it does, because you're just awake for it all, and you notice things that you couldn't see because things were hazy in the past, and you were looking for a way. And I'm speaking for myself, and I know, Beth, you and I have had conversations about this, but so many things open up. I'm going to be talking more about this too in 2020, because it's just an area. I was, speaking with my coach recently. She's like, maybe you want to do something around this, because I was telling her, like, because the last time I was, I was attending one of your events several years ago, and like that's when I decided to let go of alcohol, and I kind of told her the story around it. She's like, wow, like it was just so. And she, and I'm like, I'm not cool if it's okay that you drink. Like, it's not saying, well, you can't drink anymore. It's just for those of us who know that it's not a good fit for us, we know it's toxic to our system. We know that we've heard the call that says, let it go, and, work through what is required to let it go. The whole world will open up for you, and you really do live a life beyond your wildest dreams. But tell everyone, like, what are you super passionate about? What are you called to serve? I mean, you're passionate about so many things, obviously wellness, healing, doing the work, looking at where your ego is playing a role and where it's your truth, right? Showing up real as you. But I know you've really been called here to serve women in a deep way, women at, a certain point in their life. So tell us about like who this woman is and how that woman can find you online in terms of, where you're showing up and how she can learn more from you.
Women at the menopausal stage, because having gone through it, or going through it really still, but this is such a blessing time in life. And as we've been talking about, I'm sober at this point. I am feeling all the feels, and it's wonderful to walk around my house, which is kind of dirty, but be able to appreciate it, not think that I have to tidy every little thing up. My marriage is getting stronger by the day, because I know I don't have to do it all at once. And I have all these tools, and I don't have to use them all at once. And so being able to see the fitness and the nutrition and the meditation piece, I'm really, really passionate about meditation in a way that I haven't been as much in the last couple of years. That's been a new sort of evolution these past few months that I don't think I've talked to you about as much. I'm probably somewhat of a corollary to doing the yoga. I'm really, really back to passionate about the yoga, but the yoga is, so I'm working on a yoga course for yoga and Ayurveda and lifestyle course for women.
Yay.
At the time of life, I don't know if I'm going to call it yoga and menopause, because women the menopausal stage is quite a long period for some of us. I started when I was about 39, and I was a little crazy. Um, that played a big role in some of the decisions I made, and putting down alcohol. Because you combine that with alcohol, and that can be really dangerous. Yeah, so women, the time of menopause, and Ayurveda and yoga, and lots of fun though.
And they're looking for just more energy, kind of that like being like finding that excitement again of like, oh wait, I've got this life. Like what are they feeling, and what is it that that they achieve, or what they experience, they feel once they bring in these tools?
Yeah, definitely more energy, more acceptance of their bodies. Because a few years ago, I'm looking at my belly. That little belly wasn't there.
Right.
But my little belly is there because I'm in menopause, so I need to adjust some things, and it's not going to happen right away. And that little belly could keep me from teaching yoga if I don't get my head in the right place. So helping us at work be more productive and happy. A woman I met on a plane a couple of months ago going to Kapala for the book thing had this sad story of trying to control a young, beautiful coworker because the young, beautiful coworker was incredibly codependent. And so just a few sessions, you could get so much relief of letting go.
Yeah.
Just
right. Yeah. It's like cleaning up your life, like just cleaning up your life, saying, you know, like what has come before me has served me to get me to this point, but I'm different now. Like you've gone through this change. It's a rite of passage for women. I haven't gone through it yet, but I'm so grateful to have clients who are, some of them are ahead of me on that, and they've shared insights of what it's like. And I won't be completely blindsided by it, hopefully, like knock on wood, but that it is a change. You know, it's like we go through these maiden, mother, crone as women, as kind of the classic archetypes, and there's a lot of nuances within that, and not all of us are called to become mothers in the quote traditional sense of the word. Some of us are, but we have these archetypes that we play into, and it's really important to honor whatever season that you're in, and to not numb out and not be like, well, you know, I gained the weight, so now I can't go and speak in front of a group, or now I can't go teach my class, or now I can't whatever because I don't look a certain way. Because back to your point, Beth, and this is a beautiful way to wrap up the episode, are you here to serve, or are you trying to impress somebody? Like what is really the root of what we're doing here? So Beth, thank you so much for this powerful conversation. First off, where can people find you? Where do you want to send them on the interweb?
I'm on Facebook, and I have a website. And so I'm on Facebook as Beth Sears. Instagram is the same. And the website, it's bethsears.com. Very easy.
Nice and simple. All right. Well, I want to know, what is your gutsiest move, Beth, that you've ever made, and how does it inspire your life and work today?
Probably the gutsiest move was to get sober. And yeah.
Why was it so gutsy? What felt so bold in that moment?
It was either that or die, first of all, because it was pretty bad. But to change, it felt like you were changing it felt like I was changing who I was.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the throes of such a distorted view of who you are, and that's your coping mechanism, you just don't know who you'll be on the other end. It's also the first true independent thing that you do, or I did, at least for myself. So, and I have a very supportive family. It's harder for other people. So back to your original, or your point. Yes, please do reach out. And there are communities I can also send you towards if you have some.
Thank you for that offer, Beth. I know, seriously, you all, if you're struggling with this, if you're wondering about this, if you kind of feel like you're the only one, or you know that you've been, because I'm in a few communities for those who are sober or those who are trying to drink less. And I see a lot of people who struggle there. They're trying to moderate, and some people just can't. They're just like, I can't. It's too much. And so get educated here. I'll give a tip. There's a lot of great books out there that many people have suggested, but one that really opened my eyes. I think I shared this with you, Beth. I actually learned about the book and the author when the Supreme Court nominee hearings were going on, Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
Kind of a random way I found out about this book, but because let's be real, he had an issue with beer. Okay.
Yeah, he does.
Let's just call it spade a spade. The guy had some issues with beer, but because he's a guy and it's beer, like whatever.
Whatever.
Okay, that's like a whole nother conversation. But seriously, there was an article in the New York Times written by Sarah Hepola, who is an incredible writer, and her book is called Blackout.
Oh yeah.
And I think the subtitle is like trying to remember what I drank to forget. Oh my gosh. And it was just so good. And it was so good just to hear a woman, just to read a woman's story about her struggle with alcohol and her dance with alcohol. And for many of us, it's just kind of how we grew up. It's just what one did. And again, when you realize like your body can't really do it, you can't moderate, and or when your work calls you in a different direction, or to really be your best, and that alcohol is just getting in your way. I mean, that's what it was for me. It was just like, it just doesn't have a place there anymore. I have a big assignment to fulfill, and I will do that. And so please reach out to Beth, reach out to me. I will be doing some more on this because it's an important message that I want to help bring out into the world in my own way. And so thank you, Beth, for helping to shine a light on this topic in particular. You're incredible. You're incredible, Miss Beth.
Thank you.
You're incredible. And thanks everyone for tuning in. You all know where to go find Beth on Facebook and Instagram, BethSears.com. She delivered an amazing talk at an event of mine earlier this year. You're going to hear more about Beth in the coming months. She's got so many wonderful just creations inside of her, and is a wealth of knowledge. And it's really been an honor, Beth, to have you as a client in the time that we've been working together. So thanks everybody for tuning in to this conversation. I have had a blast just being here with you week by week and sharing these really powerful conversations with fellow women on a mission and gutsy leaders who are here to make a big impact in the world. So keep doing your work, and I will see everyone again next week. Bye, everybody.